Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, licensed attorney, crisis strategist, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we look at some hot topics and bring them to you with some inside information. The Crisis Files entertainment contributor is back in studio. Paul McGuire-Grimes is a film critic and the person we turn to for all things Hollywood. Right now, that means untangling what's happening with our shows, the studios, and digital platforms. Paul is here for the case file I call Streaming Dreams. Paul, you name the platform, Netflix, Apple, Hulu, HBO, the list goes on. They've pretty much won the war against traditional TV networks, but now there are new battles. Help us understand what's happening.
Okay, so there's so much material out there that I think it's actually becoming hard for each of these streaming services, networks, to land their footing about what is their brand, what is their voice, what shows they want to put out there, and how are they going to get people to continue to watch when there's so much to choose from. And if someone is only going to maybe subscribe for this season of this show and then unsubscribe because they don't watch the rest of the shows, how do you then make sure that they come back for season 2 or 3 or 4 when maybe they're now on to watching something on Netflix or they're on to now watching something on Paramount Plus? You have to get them back in if you're not having them their entire time.
So the challenge, too, of all of the choices and the options, which, it does make the marketplace competitive and interesting. That's always good for consumers.
Right.
But it also has me jumbled in my mind. Okay, did I watch that on Apple TV? Did I watch that on Netflix? Do I need to get a subscription? And then let's unravel this whole HBO thing. All right. So
Yes.
HBO Max and HBO. And I will say a big reason why I was interested in it was for And Just Like That.
Yes.
When the Sex and the City series kicked off a couple years ago. And now I'm hearing there's an HBO rebrand. What's happening over there?
So when HBO Max launched, and this is so complicated because of the different names that app had, is that at first HBO as the cable network, and the cable network had its own streaming app called, at the time, HBO Max, but there was also an HBO Now. There was like a different app if you were a cable subscriber that you already had HBO as part of your plan, which we always did. You didn't need the standalone streaming service. A couple years ago, they basically rebranded, and it was just one app. And if you were a subscriber to your cable, you had it. If you weren't, you could still be a subscriber. And then a couple years ago, after that, Warner Brothers, who basically owns HBO, merged with Discovery, and Discovery had all of the unscripted content, the HGTV, the Food Network, all that unscripted. So it's kind of a merger, if you will, of Warner Brothers as a movie studio, HBO as a TV scripted shows. I'm trying to say a word.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of Sopranos.
Sex and the City,
that really put HBO
The Wire,
on the map.
yes,
on the map.
Those types of shows. And then it brought in all of the unscripted stuff. So it was Warner Brothers Discovery was a merged company, and the app then became Max. It was
which now makes sense. Thank you. I finally understand why we have the term Max.
Yes. It was Max because they didn't want it to just be the HBO brand or just the Discovery brand, because those apps literally merged together. So this was let's have it just be called Max. And it wasn't like Max Plus, like an Apple TV Plus or an HBO Plus. It was just its own Max. And that became confusing too, because that's literally the dumbest name ever. What does that mean?
And the main name of HBO was so recognizable.
Yes.
And now you've just kind of kicked that to the curb.
Yes. HBO was a brand and name for quality. You went to watch Sopranos or Sex and the City because they were the best shows. And Game of Thrones, all of that scripted, you go that. So you add in all this unscripted stuff, and that's not a bad thing. But then you kind of diluted what your brand is. And now what's happening is I think that HBO and Warner Brothers Discovery is well, what are our brands? What is this now? They decided to basically unmerge. So Warner Brothers and HBO will be quality, and Discovery will go back to being all of the unscripted stuff. But because of that, they didn't want to unmerge the two apps. So
it wasn't a true divorce.
It wasn't a true divorce. No. They're just more realigning what they're doing and known for. And the app now went back to the name HBO Max because HBO Max is associated with quality. And that's really what we want these days is quality in the entertainment that we are taking in. We don't want it to just be the dreaded C word, which I say is content. We don't want our entertainment to just feel like content because to me, content is nothing. It's a video on TikTok or Instagram. And hey, I do those videos.
Literally anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. I'm going to HBO because I want the best TV series.
Right. People, writers, actors, producers, directors put time, talent into it and give us really interesting shows, dramas, comedies.
And we
That's
see
what
that,
we want.
yes, with The White Lotus, many, House of the Dragon, that's what they can be known for, and then stick to that. And I think, another thing that's happened with this is we've seen a lot of layoffs recently at Warner Brothers, like a lot of companies these days doing layoffs and merges and redefining what their models are like. And that's the downside of that, is laying off a lot of their workforce.
It is the downside of that. You know how I always want you to name names. Is anyone doing it really well, both from the content creation of shows and quality programming, as well as how they're treating their people?
I don't necessarily know how they're treating their people, I would say. It seems like Warner Brothers is really great at treating their people because the people that I work with at Warner Brothers have been there for many years. The people that I know that work at Apple TV have been there for many years. So I'm seeing the same faces, which is really good in terms of like, hey, I'm going to go to the studio and I know I'm going to have a good relationship with this person. I'm building those relationships for my own personal needs. So that seems to be good. And I think that HBO, Warner Brothers, and Apple are really fine-tuning what their brands are and to know that the consumer knows what they're going to get out of it. I think that people know when they go to Apple TV Plus, they know they're going to get excellent television shows. They know that Severance will be amazing. They know that Shrinking, The Studio, Ted Lasso, The Morning Show are all hit quality shows. I think that they don't have as many movies. They don't have as many movies right now, which I think is what they're struggling with, but they're getting the market on television, quality television that people can rely on.
All right. And it is something, when I think about TV, it is one of the few things I'm able to do that shuts my mind off from going in 10 different directions. So there will always be a need for these shows, whether it's escapism, whether it's information, family entertainment, whatever you call it or need from it, it's always going to be there, but it's definitely evolving. It seems in the last decade, we've seen the most evolution in habits when it comes to movies, to films. Because you are a card-carrying film critic,
Yes,
as I always say and love to say about Paul, what are some of the mega trends coming to movies? Because a couple summers ago when Tom Cruise said Top Gun 2 has to be in studios, cannot go straight to streaming, I loved that, or has to be in the theaters. Is that trend continuing?
I think the trend of using those words is trending because, again, we still want people to go to the movie theater. And there are movies that you cannot get that same quality at home. Another good example of that recently was F1, the movie. It was
with Brad Pitt.
With Brad Pitt, the same director, Joseph Kosinski, who made Top Gun Maverick. And he and his cinematographer and that cast put you in the driver's seat of those cars. Again, I know nothing about F1. I learned so much by watching that movie and feeling like I am on the track. I am in this world of F1 that I don't think I would have had if I was just watching it at home. And I have a big screen movie, I have a big screen home theater in our home. So it's even better quality than someone watching it on their computer or
I can't even
imagine
watching on a phone or even just a laptop
or the
screen.
airplane screen
Or an airplane screen.
When I'm traveling and I see people watching a movie, I'm like, I hope you have already seen that this isn't your first time watching Dunkirk and it's the back of your, screen.
Someone else's seat. Screen. Well, what I like, speaking of airplane screens, I love that downtime to catch up on some of the streaming platforms that I don't have access to at home.
Paramount Plus and Delta have that connection.
Love watching that on a plane. Also, I'll do live TV.
Right.
It's great to, whether it's a sporting event, some political thing that's happening. So, that's just a little shout out to, I love the content when we're on planes.
And I think the opposite of this, we've been talking a lot about scripted quality. I think these streamers are also trying to figure out, well, what can we do in the unscripted market?
Which a lot of people call reality TV.
Yes, reality TV. I think unscripted is more of an insider term.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes when we think of reality TV, we think of like The Housewives or
But the thing about
90 First Dates or whatever that show is.
Let's talk about The Housewives and, kudos to Andy Cohen and Bravo. I mean, what a mega hits he's had and how that's made him mega wealthy.
Yes.
Those are supposedly unscripted, but they get more and more contrived, Paul.
Correct. We've been watching most of the Housewives series for many, many years now because, like you said, we needed that downtime where our brains are turned off. And I'm not saying that those shows are brainless, but like you turn to them because borderline, because I don't want to have to deal with whatever's going on in the world. I can turn it off and just feel like I'm escaping. However, when you then watch enough of them, you kind of see repeated storylines or you see repeated conflicts. And I'm like, I feel like we just did that in this season in this city. Or I'm putting the Housewives on pause. And that's a Housewives term. I'm disengaging.
Oh,
because
all right.
it's become to me too bitchy and too angry and too argumentative.
Agreed.
And
how many
turning
of those
toward that.
women's marriages fall apart after they go
Marriages
on that show?
fall apart, friendships fall apart, and it seems like the ends of these seasons, it's like we're ending the season with such fractured relationships. These housewives just angry and going so low with one another that it's like, I don't want that in my life right now either.
No, it's such negative energy.
It's so negative that The Real Housewives of Orange County recently started. There's 3 episodes on our DVR, and I said to Ryan, I'm not watching this. I don't
You
want that
put
right
your
now.
foot down.
I put my foot down. He can watch it if he wants, fine. But I don't want to. And I think, there's that end of it. There's also the unscripted reality of competition shows. And we're seeing that right now with Netflix, trying to find their footing and trying to figure out how are people engaging with Netflix that might be different than how they used to. They're trying to stay afloat because their content is out of control.
All right, speaking of competition shows, also game shows.
Yes.
And we're having former sports celebrities or actors hosting those shows. What's up with all these game shows?
Well, one, in a business model, they're very easy to produce. You can crank that out really quickly. You can pay the celebrities or you can pay
You're basically paying just the celebrity, right? Because the contestants, they could win, but they don't get paid to be there.
Yes, correct. Excuse me. Or if you're doing a reality show like The Traitors with other celebrities, that is really popular on Peacock, and I am addicted to The Traitors.
I'll have to check it out. I've seen trailers.
It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, I think it's really easy to produce in a very short amount of time. You could crank out multiple episodes within the same day and then be done with a whole season in like 2 or 3 weeks.
All right,
unlike a show itself that takes forever.
Right. Well, so here's what I'm going to ask you as we go inside Paul's reporter's notebook. I love to not only get some tips for our future watching, but first, because this is the Crisis Files, we've got a lot of business people who watch and listen to the show. What are some things you're seeing in the entertainment world that brands can use as inspiration, as ideas, even lessons in how they're marketing and how they're taking things to their audiences?
I think know what your brand is. Know what your brand is and why does the consumer come to your brand? I come to HBO because I want quality, I want storytelling, and I want rich characters. That's why I come to HBO. I also veer away from unscripted typically because that isn't always my thing. But that doesn't mean that that's bad. It's just that that's not what I want.
So if you are, let's say, a consumer goods company, and so we'll try to not make the mistake that HBO did, and it's now trying to right that ship.
Yeah.
You want to stay authentic to what your product is,
Yes.
who your audiences are,
Yes.
your customers.
Yep. And we've seen that. I'm going to figure out how low I want. Low is the wrong word. We've seen that recently with Target, in my opinion, is that they try to go against, in my opinion, their own brand and their audience, their consumer. For me, for the Black community, the gay community, I feel like they went behind our backs by getting rid of their DEI and getting rid of all this training and all the words that they used after George Floyd in the wake of Pride to say, no, you are welcome here. We want to celebrate you and want to have you. And to throw all of that away now is detriment to their company because you're adhering to someone else, to another audience base. And the proof is in the pudding. That has literally hurt them. Like their audience, their consumers have gone down, their market shares have gone, like their growth has gone down.
The marketplace has spoken.
Yes.
Right. Well, we didn't have to twist Paul's arm to name names. I love it when you share, but entertainment is entertainment, but how it's marketed, often Hollywood is on the cutting edge of trends or of vibes, and actual business brands can learn from those.
Yes.
For better or worse.
For better or for worse. And don't always just go to the trend because you think that will bring in someone else. You may hurt your already loyal customer. You know,
we saw that with Budweiser. And
yes.
its epic fail a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so it is really about knowing your audience, which I am constantly sharing with my clients, really understanding your audience and then customizing your choreography, whether it's messaging, how you package something, how you deliver it, the finishing touches.
Or don't try to do too much. If you do one or two things really keep those one or two things tip-top quality. Don't try to diversify yourself so much that then everything gets to be about 10%.
And then it's so diluted.
And I think that's what happened with Netflix. When Netflix launched, they became the streaming service of amazing shows that no other streamer was doing because streamers weren't really existing at the time. But then they delivered the binge model, which was they cranked out every episode of Stranger Things on the same weekend and everyone watched it. But then they were like, oh, people love Netflix. We want to keep you here. So they were cranking out a new movie or a new TV show every week.
Which is just so much.
So much content that then people don't even know what is on Netflix
then it's
right now.
Overload.
It's overload. You can't market that. You can't say this is quality. It just becomes quantity.
I always like to say less is more.
Yes.
Very rarely more is more.
Correct.
That is very rare. Less is more is a great guiding principle for any kind of messaging, for any kind of advertising, and just even in how you deal with your teams.
Yes.
Less is more. But it does start with really knowing your audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you really need to.
Your audience, your employers, because you don't want to turn one away for the other. You don't want to say we're doing this all for the audience and then you're screwing over your employer at the same time. That doesn't help anyone.
All right, I'll wind down with this.
Yes.
We're sitting here at the end of the summer 2025. What is something that you don't even think any of us could predict that's going to happen in the world of entertainment? What are your spidey senses saying?
That people will continue to just go to TikTok and Instagram for their entertainment. And then and that will dilute other quality entertainment because what I've been seeing is that you go to one of those two to watch a 60-second or a couple-minute video, and then you're moving on to the next thing. Our attention spans are so short right now that we cannot sit still for anything. I've seen that in recent movies like Karate Kid Legends or even Fantastic Four. The way that those movies were written and edited was like, we need to make sure that the kids watching these movies can pay attention for 5 seconds, and then we'll do something different for the next 5 seconds. And we'll do something over here. And like the storytelling is so fast that nothing can breathe anymore.
And we miss it.
Or even news. People go to TikTok to find out what's happening in the news. They're not going necessarily to the actual primetime news anymore.
Either mainstream television or traditional newspapers.
Yeah.
And even their social sites.
Right. They may see something in a GIF or a meme or a TikTok and they think that that's news. And that's what they're hearing, and that's what they're believing.
And they think they have all the information.
And they think that they have and that has affected politics.
Yeah, and that is a whole other topic we will get into on a future.
We literally wrapped everything together.
Case file. We really did. Well, it is always so fun to have Paul McGuire-Grimes in the studio. You can check out his movie reviews as well as a lot of other fantastic Hollywood nuggets on YouTube and online at Paul's Trip to the Movies. Today's case file is sponsored by Mall of America. Mall of America. Great shopping. A dazzling and dizzying variety of attractions and restaurants. Did you realize Mall of America also hosts hundreds of events each year? Everything from high-fashion runway shows to visits from the hottest musicians. Pop-up celebrations ahead of movie premieres. charity-related walks, and holiday-themed experiences. You never know what you will find at our mall. For upcoming events and happenings, check out mallofamerica.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.